All right, so I am here with Landon, and we are going to be discussing, what it's looked like from, Landon and his team working with us at Scale with Pros with his real estate investing, land flipping business, from where he was, where and what he's, done over just the last couple of months that we've been working together. And so, Landon, appreciate you being on, and super excited to chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, definitely. So, what's like the model that of your business? Obviously, I mentioned, it's land flipping, wholesaling, but any other context that you'd love to share, to give context to those that are listening, and where the heck did you find me and Scale with Pros, before we started working together?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, the premise of our business is we do kind of outreach to people through a different couple different marketing channels, and basically the goal of our business is to buy vacant land primarily off market. Clean it up in some way. So do some sort of value add. Usually it's very minimal value add versus like a house. So you might be doing some like brush hogging, just kind of cutting back trees and stuff like that, kind of creating a cleared area where people can visualize living at the property or some sort of use for the property, cleaning up some junk and different things like that, and then reselling the property for the profit. So that's basically the overall goal of the business is, buy, vacant land a little bit under market value, invest into it, and then sell it close to market value on the market. And then where I met you, it was actually a mastermind event. I want to say it was maybe mid-February in, where were we? Tulum or
Dominican
Dominican
Republic.
Republic. Yep, yep. So you were one of the speakers there for the mastermind that I'm in, and just kind of some of the things that you were saying and everything like that. It was exactly what we needed for our business. We're very sales and marketing driven, and we're kind of always able to throw a band-aid on every lack of system and process in our business by just kind of pounding the phones. So it was exactly what we kind of needed to hear and invest in at the time.
Yeah, no, love it. And so, it's funny because that's where a lot of business, like up to, 300K a year, 500K a year, 750K, like up to 1 million a year, you can really band-aid most everything with just marketing and sales. Like get more leads in the door, get more qualified opportunities, and get more of those to convert, and you can really do, amazing stuff. But then it's like to get out of that, removing burnout, removing, just the business falling apart when, you're not doing everything, is really where it starts to come into play to actually get these things in place that, that we're talking about. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you were having in the business before we started working together, from that, whether it's systems or operational things in the business? Like what were some of those things that you were feeling before we started working together?
Yeah, so talking specifics within the business, we had this team of 5 people, and everybody kind of worked siloed within their own thing. There was no kind of cohesiveness. So the biggest problem was, and one of the main reasons that that really stuck out to me actually in your presentation in Dominican, was if I took a day off the business, we stopped. Like nothing progressed in the business. And I remember you kind of speaking, and people were asking about different kind of businesses that you had helped in, different businesses that you're invested in as well. And I think it was a Friday that you were presenting, and someone was just asking about your business, and it's like, how are you running your business today? And you're like, oh, I just look at the scorecard and like kind of determine whether or not we're kind of doing what we need to do. They're like, oh, so you don't have to work today? And you're like, well, no, why would I set up kind of a business where I need to work on vacation? And I was like, whoa, like to me, it was just like, I don't know. It's just like we're entrepreneurs. We just work 120 hours a week, and you just work. Like if you're on vacation, I had always worked. I never took off weekends or anything like that. We had spent a decent bit of time in Hawaii, and I was always kind of stressed out working there. So that was kind of the biggest problem is, we were very siloed. We did not have an overall vision that we were working towards either. I had not clearly communicated the overall goals, specific KPIs. We were not tracking really anything within the we were tracking basic metrics, making sure
Yeah.
that we were getting good basics return on ad spend, but we were not tracking to the level that we need to be. We were not consistent with our tracking. And then again, the biggest thing was like if I wasn't working 120 hours a week, like the business would just shut off. Was the primary problems that we were facing.
Yeah, so it's like breaking into, it's like having the, getting the right measurables, in place on the scorecard for the business, getting clarity of roles, who's doing what, and what the numbers that they need to be accountable for individually, and getting that team aligned, not just be siloed in their work, but like as a collective of this is what we're doing, this is what we're all on the same page to go and create together. So from the work that we have done together, what helped you the most, do you think? Like what was like some of the things that, if it's like one or two things that you think were like the biggest needle movers that were implemented? Obviously, I know those are some of the challenges, but then was it like one or two specific things that you were like, yeah, that was probably the most helpful?
Yeah, so helping us lay out, I guess, rocks was a big one, because then we had an overall vision that we were working towards, and then specific areas where we need to lay those out, as well as what KPIs we should track. Even though you had no idea, insights specifically into our business, you kind of laid out like different areas, like, hey, this is what you should be thinking about here. And then also kind of helping us get very good at kind of running our team meetings. Our team meetings before were not anywhere near, if they did exist, it was like inconsistent. The things that we were talking about in the meetings were not like the bottleneck things that we are focused on now. So I would say kind of the biggest thing is helping us run the meeting and then turn it over to us to allow us to kind of figure that out while we still kind of had the oversight of your guys' expertise there. And then helping us know what we should be tracking, and then getting on a regular cadence of that, so we actually know our numbers, so that whatever our goals are, we can just back into it by saying, okay, if we want to hit this target, how much outbound volume do we need to do? And we have a data driven decision to be able to say, okay, we just need to send this amount of mailers to hit that kind of overall gross profit. Those were kind of the, I guess, two main things is, I guess, the rocks, the KPIs, and then actually doing it with us really, really was extremely beneficial, rather than just like reading it in a book or something like that. Sure, you can read it in a book, but it was helpful to actually have you guys there present and be like, hey, this is, you did this, and then, just kind of giving us live feedback was so helpful.
Awesome. No, I love that. And I think that's sometimes the hardest thing. It's like, it's like you think about like, when people are like working out or like trying to go to the gym, and it's like people hire a personal trainer, and it's not that they can't just go on Google, or frickin' ChatGPT can write you a whole workout plan and a nutrition plan. But it's like, there's a difference of like doing that versus like someone walking alongside you and like, hey, like this is how you should do the workout, and then them pushing you along in it, and then like the accountability of like, hey, like this is the next step, this is what we got to do next. And it's like having the guide along the way to like take you through it, to not have as much rework. I always say like the work that we do is more like, it's like if you think about going to Disneyland, like the work we do, it's like we're just the fast pass. It's like the work that we've worked through together over the last couple months, people can figure out, but it might take 6 months or 12 months or 18 months of like troubleshooting it, versus like let's just collapse that time frame and just get the result that much faster. So then you can, be enjoying life, a lot more, to your point of having to work on all of your vacations and all of that. So definitely feel for you on that. And so, okay, I saw you actually post that we're in that, Facebook group together, and I saw you post yesterday. Walk me through some of these numbers. Like what's the, success that you're seeing now? Because it's like, okay, all of that sounds great, but like, what does that actually mean? Like, what's that now, kind of transformation that you've now seen more like in your personal life and in, in the business now that these changes have happened?
Definitely. So I guess quantifiably speaking within the business, so Q3 2024, we had, I want to say, around 100 to 150,000 in total gross profit kind of locked up. We started working with you guys, I want to say it was like mid Q1. We finished Q1 with 4 times the amount of contracts and about 420,000 in gross profit. So we kind of, 4.5x, 4x our Q4 results. And then, so that's quantifiably like actually true within the business. I've been able to, I typically now take off Fridays, like almost the entire day on Friday. I would also say that I usually stop working. I love working. I love this business. But I usually stop working, or can stop working if I want to. And, we're doing something else at like 5 o'clock every night. I've gone to, I think we started working about 8 weeks or so ago. In like the last 3 weeks, like last week, I went to Disney World Monday and Tuesday. I was traveling Wednesday and Thursday. We got 2 contracts signed last week with kind of these new systems that are in place, 150,000 in gross profit. Before, maybe we still would have gotten those contracts, but I wouldn't have been at Disney World. I wouldn't have been kind of doing these different fun things. So, our systems are better. We're tracking things significantly better now. So we know kind of the inputs that we need to actually hit these overall quarterly rocks, and we're planning towards everything. Also, before we had started working together, I had always had this dream of spending a summer in Europe. And, at this point in my life, we finally had enough money to do it, but I didn't have the lifestyle or the business that I needed to actually kind of bring that to fruition. So I had never booked, this trip to Europe. We started working together after about the first month. We booked the trip in Europe. We leave Tuesday. We leave this upcoming Tuesday. We'll be in Europe all of May, June, and July, coming back in August. Because now I'm like extremely confident in the business, the systems that we have, and then the people that are on our team as well, to kind of keep rolling this business and actually grow the business while we're there, while we still get to do like all this fun stuff in life.
Yeah.
The whole reason that we started the business was to do cool things in life, and we're finally able to do that rather than just me being tied to my computer for 12, 15 hours a day.
Oh my gosh, that's you're speaking. It's like it gets me so excited hearing that, and it's like that was the reason I started, being an entrepreneur myself. I'm like, I wanted the time freedom and the financial freedom, and I think that's where a lot of business owners find themselves is they they might end up getting financial freedom, but then they have no time. And it's like, what's the point of having the money if you don't have the time to enjoy it, if you can't go on vacation, and God forbid you can't, actually go and enjoy the things that you're doing there. A lot of times when I go on trips, I'll literally just like throw my phone in the safe and at our hotel room, and I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, you have your phone, I don't need it, and we're just gonna go and enjoy the day and just do whatever we're doing, and you take pictures and whatever. And it's like that's like the way that we should be setting up our businesses. And I think people get, it's like you have like in the corporate world like the golden handcuffs, but like people handcuff themselves then in their own business, where then they become just a slave to their business. And it's getting these things in place to create that freedom. And I always talk about, when I'm talking to groups and stuff, it's like build a self-managing company. And a self-managing company doesn't mean that you don't have to work ever again, but it means that the company doesn't freaking fall apart if you leave for 2 hours, or gosh forbid you go on vacation for a few days or a week.
Yep. Yep. And that's exactly what it was like, we were making, I ended up quitting my job in June of 2024. And then with this business, we were making, many multiples of what I was making at the W-2. But at a certain point, I was like, with that W-2, I even had more freedom than I have. I've kind of created this cage around myself where it's like, we just kind of want to keep this flywheel of the deals keeping on coming and everything like that. But it was like when I was able to take the vacation at my W-2, I actually got to like sit back and enjoy. I was never able to like enjoy the vacations that I was taking and stuff like that as I was this full-time entrepreneur, because I was always like stressed out. Hey, am I missing a call? Am I forgetting something? I got to make sure this title works, cleared. I got to make sure this person receives this. Hey, this, realtor called me, etc. Now we have the systems and the people in place. We've hired correctly for that, and kind of everybody knows exactly what they're responsible for in the business. I'm able to kind of look at a scorecard, still work in the business when I want to, kind of that Monday through Thursday. But then, our plan for Europe is we're going to, stop working Thursday night, travel Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, come back and, get back to work on Monday. So that's exactly the thing where, we kind of are able to actually enjoy this, freedom and money that we've created through the business now.
So cool. So cool. Well, I'm super excited for you, Landon. And, I expect to see, some posts and pictures, when you guys are at Lake Como and enjoying that time there. So, just super happy for, everything that, you guys have been able to do. But I would say too, it's like, you and your team are action takers too. We're working together on implementing, like you just go and take action. So like, just kudos to you on just, executing and just moving the things along. I know myself and our team, has really enjoyed working with you and your team, throughout the process. So let's say someone's watching this video right now and they're on the fence. They're like, because as like there's tons of things that people can go spend money on, whether, investing in consulting or coaches or masterminds or events. What would you say to that person that's sitting and they're like, maybe on the fence of like, is this the right thing for me? Like, if you have similar problems, like, is this really going to be the thing to help me, get my problem solved?
Definitely. Yeah. So exactly as you were saying earlier was like, maybe you could figure this out on your own. but why would you spend 2 years trying to perfect these processes and everything like that with a very small investment? Like the opportunity cost of kind of waiting and trying to figure things out on your own, like invest in consulting, invest in kind of these business coaches. One, because like, not only is it kind of given me my life and like the lifestyle that I actually dreamed of getting into this business, it's not only actually given me that and the systems, we've grown the business. So I've cut back the amount of time that I'm in it. Like I can quantifiably say, since we started working with you, whatever it was, 8 weeks ago, like on the low end, we're looking at a 10x return in like the first quarter. That's again on the low end, just in the additional profit. And I can like quantifiably, point to deals that would have fallen through our system beforehand that we have now caught with our new systems since we've started working with you. So within the first quarter, we've gotten like I'm not exaggerating whatsoever, 10x return kind of just the first few weeks of working with you. But again, the bigger thing is like I've cut back, my hours and the time significantly, taking more steps in a day, right? I'm at like 15,000 steps in a day rather than like the 5,000 I was taking before, because we're taking walks during the day, enjoying more. We're just not tied to our phone and actually getting to like live the life that I dreamed of by creating all these different systems and processes that we've since implemented.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man, that's so freaking cool. I'm so happy for you, and it's gonna be a great time this summer that you guys are gonna have in Europe, and you're action takers on implementing this stuff, and I'm just happy and grateful that I got to be a little bit a part of these next steps for you and in your business. And so just excited to see what's in store for the upcoming months, upcoming years, now from like a lifestyle standpoint for you, financially, and also the time. And that's, I think, the key part there too. It's like not just growing and making more money, but also getting some time back. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you just keep making more money if you're a slave to everything that you're building. So that's the key. So let me ask you this: where can people go to find you? Maybe there's other folks that maybe want to reach out to you. Maybe there's we get a lot of different types of businesses that listen to these, and maybe they're a real estate investor, could bring you deals, or maybe they're business owner, want to connect with you. Where can people connect with you?
Sure. Yeah, we post kind of all of our deals and kind of updates on there on Instagram. It's just blue_real estate. Blue is just my last name, BLEAU. Kind of post all of our deals. We're very transparent with our numbers and everything like that. So that would definitely be the best place to reach out.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure we get that in the link in the description below for everyone to be able to find as well. But Landon, appreciate you taking the time to hop on and have a conversation about this, and excited to see what's in store over the upcoming months.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.